Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Essential Intelligence. This is technically for April 2018, despite the fact that it's May, because we had stuff to do. We had stuff to do in April. It all kind of, got out of control. Supposed to do it on the weekend as well. Didn't happen. Doesn't matter. We're here now for a midweek edition with a recurring guest and a brand new guest. We'll leave him for a second. Turbo Tabs first. How you doing? You've been here before. What's up?
Yep, I have been here before. It is glad to be back. I feel a little bad because I'm looking at some of the topics and I'm like, oh, I'm not too familiar with some of these topics, but I'm sure we've got our new guest will kind of cover for my slack.
You've been taking the off season a little bit too literally, you know.
Well,
you can't leave it to
starting mid-season probably.
I'm one of those I guess burnout TF2 players. Like when the season's happening, I'm doing a lot of stuff all the time, and then when the off season comes, I like to take my fur break.
You gotta make the most out of it. This is the one holiday you get for like the next 3 months, so
Pretty much, yeah.
it makes sense. Otherwise, it'll all collapse without you. We have our new boy, Dumtum. How you
Hello.
doing?
Pretty good. Pretty nice to
Your
be here and
first
talk
time.
about a lot of nonsense, hopefully.
Yeah, a considerable amount of nonsense. First time ever on the highly rated, highly anticipated Essentials show. But you've been doing your casting thing for quite a while. You're getting your following on Essentials and TFTV, and you're doing everything. You're basically a household name at this point. You're famous,
Well,
dude.
I mean,
Yeah, you've got a LAN under your belt as
exaggerating
well.
a bit, but yeah. I'm doing
That's
a lot
true.
right at the moment. That's true, yeah.
You are one of the actual keenest gamers out there in TF2. So, you boys are gonna join me. We're gonna have a little bit of a chat about a variety of different topics. As a little rundown of what we're going to be talking about. ETF12 Season 29 Grand Finals happened pretty recently. We'll talk about what happened there. There's going to be spoilers throughout, so if you haven't seen any of this, just don't bother. Come back in a week's time or something. We're going to have the delayed Essentials Cup Grand Finals. That was for previous iteration, which was only played, I think, the 24th of April. There's a big old delay on that one. There's the Beta Map Cup, which happened very, very recently on the weekend. A bunch of brand new maps being played. Some interesting stuff going on there. And we're going to round it out a little bit with our general announcements, but also we're going to focus quite heavily on some rumors for Season 30, because in case people aren't aware, Season 30 is a big one. And we're going to round it out a little bit with before LAN, where all the old boys suddenly come out and suddenly want to play again. It always happens, without a doubt. TurboTabs has seen it a million times. There's gonna be there's always one team full of like players you haven't played for like a year who are suddenly just like, TF2 is awesome at LAN. Let's do that.
Yeah. You do get some of the most random people that turn out for LAN. Not even just to play as well. Some people just come to attend and watch and just bask in like the old TF2 days. You see some of the most random names come out. Like I think last year you had I think it was Shocky and Bash just kind of turned up and like one came to say hi, or just some random people that come around.
Fanva's like a regular, I swear.
Oh yeah, Fanva comes to the odd
He
LAN
just
as well,
turns
yeah.
up and gets drunk.
The
Video
original
games,
LAN man.
all of those.
I'm pretty sure F2 also showed up for Copenhagen games for like the last day.
Yeah, F2.
Just casually turned up and watched like Highlander Grand Finals for some reason.
Yeah, it came with Hellberg as well.
Dude, those keen Danes. Anyway, let's go right in. Season 29 Grand Finals. As everyone expected, it was your boys Ascent EU versus Seven. So for a little bit of context, this is obviously, it was the newer iteration of Seven with Drac and Captain gone. They left shortly after Rewind, so Seven was playing with a Disky roaming, Ams on Pocket. They were playing with obviously Thalash remaining on Scout, and how am I forgetting their other Scout? Dumtum knows. I'll work it out. I'm sorry, team. Anyway, they're playing with their new
Tiger,
roster.
it
Ascent
was.
was Tiger. That's the one. Thank you.
Won't be like
Not
40 pushes
prepared.
next season, but that's like the topic for next season, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, they're playing with Tiger. So we got like dope gamers, a little bit different. They said they played with Raymond for a little bit, tiny bit of the playoff seeds for the rest of it. Your boys 7 seeds. Played the grand finals against it was a full Ascent EU roster. So it was kind of it was a matchup people were kind of expecting to see. There was a little bit of kind of question marks about it prior to it starting, because prior to it kind of actually happening, because there was that one monthly not too long ago where Ascent beat Seven. And everyone was a bit like, that was right when Seven had made these changes. They were like, oh, Seven, King's getting toppled. Is this where Ascent suddenly comes back and pounds them? As you can tell by the scores on the screen, didn't happen. Didn't happen, basically. That's so Turbo Tabs, you definitely casted it. So you definitely saw
I
it.
casted it with Beta. We had Gem on production as well.
You did.
So,
Good boy, Gem.
Yeah, best of 4, because I guess we're gonna have to talk about this at some point. It's maybe the ugly topic of the old grand finals is the whole one map advantage to 7.
Yes.
So it was already an uphill climb for Ascent, and I guess you want me to just quickly touch upon like the score lines overall, or should we just go map by map? How do you want to break this down equally?
However you want to do it. We can do it map by map if you want.
All right. Well, going into Granary, everyone was thinking, well, at least in my professional opinion, that the stars were aligning for Ascent. Like, this is the moment to kind of take that big title, because you had Seven has got this reformed roster. They also just picked up Seeds as well. It's a major pressure, and all these people on the Ascent lineup have been tested before, not just on line clubs, but at LAN as well.
Yeah, I said, like, with Seeds, like, obviously he was replacing Raymond. Like, to go from your first ever appearance in Prem to playing the grand finals against a team like Ascent, like, regardless of the fact that Seven plays with a very vocal main caller, like, there's a lot of pressure individually on you as a new medic for Prem to kind of be able to play as well as people need you to play at that kind of level. So yeah, I think as much as people could kind of, make like a bit of a prediction, I think, going into it wasn't like 100% either way.
Yeah, they opened with a Granary pick that was from Ascent, and I thought this was a genius pick. Like, historically, if there's ever been a map that Seven kind of fluster on or kind of lose it in a grand final setting, it has been Granary. And it's just something they haven't really tried out. I know that they had some slightly different maps for Essentials Cup, and that didn't go so well. So I think like the Granary pick was a really nice sort of just opener from them. And with the strong start as well, everyone was starting to kind of cross their fingers going, oh my God, they might actually make the comeback. And this comeback has only really happened a few times in all of ETF2 history. So I think Ascent were feeling it. Seven were feeling the pressure as well. And that's the best way to take down Ascent, is just kind of start strong and stay strong.
Yeah, I said, like, obviously when it comes to the whole best of 5 the best of 5-ish grand final system for ETF2L, if you get through the upper bracket, you get a map advantage. So instantly, Seven had to win 2 maps, Ascent had to win 3. So obviously Ascent, like I said, were feeling pressured. It was a little bit dodgy anyway. From my memory of the game, Granary, well, obviously they won, but Granary was definitely Ascent's strongest map. I think Granary was the map which to watch was the most kind of it was the most methodical map you saw in terms of both teams playing how you'd expect both teams to be playing, like, some kind of what you'd consider more standard TF2 kind of stuff going on. Teams were doing their thing, and Ascent, like you said, Ascent, they managed to win it fairly narrowly, but they do manage to win it. I think going into ProLands and Process, you start to see things like really, really different. Not to skip too far ahead, but I think things became way more of just like DMing, like proper, like really scrappy fights, whether that was by design or by kind of necessity from either team. I think it definitely, it went from being, that more kind of, planned out methodical kind of thing into some proper messy fights. Dumtum, you must have, I'm pretty sure you watched this on your own stream, did some
basically.
Your analysis
I
stuff anyway.
watched the entire thing, and like you said, like Granary, like both teams were pretty much trying to do their thing, just as TurboTaps touched on it, just Ascent had a little bit of the edge, and at the end they almost flustered a little bit, but they kept themselves defensively together, even though they couldn't get anything like going forward much at that point, and just clutched out of 2-1. And definitely a deserved win on that map, but yeah, you already mentioned it, just got like weirder and weirder as the maps went on, and like the structural play from Granary just slowly disappeared for Ascent more so than for Seven over the course of the next 2 maps, and Badlands starting obviously with I don't know, at least one of the rounds was a backup. I am pretty sure about that. I don't know about the second one anymore.
I think they were both back caps.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. And Seven just like pressured their backup a lot after that as well. So like Ascent was just getting really, really nervous, and Seven was just abusing that so much throughout the game, and even the process they just kept going, and like Ascent's like defense was just slowly falling apart at that point.
Yeah, I think to me it makes sense, you know, Ascent trying to go for slightly scrappier fights, especially if you kind of if you get wind that maybe Seven are in a bit of a weakened state in terms of like their strategic play, but also you think you maybe might not be able to like win in that more traditional aspect, maybe like take the DM fights, because like Ascent have nuts DMers. I said between Funds and Credu, and then obviously they've got Alakor, who is just like nuts. He's pumping out like ridiculous damage constantly, and Josh, who always like loves to basically go forward and try and like mess dudes up. It makes sense to want to take those kind of like, you know, slightly scrappier DM fights, trust on like your focus fire, trust on, you know, hitting shots and stuff. But obviously hindsight is 2020. But considering some of the players on Ascent are, let's say, you know, a bit more kind of emotional gamers, the problem with going for your DM fights is if you're not hitting your shots, that can very quickly turn to just total like shit show, and then people can start feeling the emotions, start feeling the pressure. Like I said, just to look at it was just so weird. Like I wouldn't have thought you'd want to make the decision to try and take DM fights against a team which has Tiger on anyway. Not that I think Tiger necessarily like shredded through them, but it was like he's a constant threat regardless. Dude can just like flick a switch and just start pounding people. Yeah, it was really weird. Like regardless of the fact that obviously Seven did end up winning 2 of the maps, they didn't look like Seven to me. They didn't.
Yeah, and they were
like
being pretty vocal about that afterwards as well, that they weren't quite happy with their performance of the grand finals. Yeah, they really didn't make that a secret at all.
Yeah, dude, the post game BM where you're like, you know, we weren't even playing well, still won, don't even care, not even trying. Don't get the owner squad meme. But yeah, like it didn't seem like your regular Seven. I think after that game, I said, you know, 7-1, but I think there's a couple members of Seven who were just like, right, we need to sort that out because we don't wanna have that happening again. That didn't. So a lot of it just didn't really make any sense. It was just so many, just like, you know, trying to fight, trying to see what happens. The kind of thing you don't see many teams really get away with, kind of playing like that anymore. But it was what it was. As I said, both teams had slightly weird things happen throughout the season. So you know, I'm not gonna hold it against them too much. I think it was like still to watch. It was despite the fact it was pure carnage, it was a pretty fun game to watch.
Yeah, Granary was very, very exciting. It was just because there was like a lot of maybe not miscommunication, but I could tell there was like clutter or maybe not the structure that you see coming out from a usual Seven team. So it was getting a bit scrappy on Granary, and that always makes for fun TF2 to watch, especially when you got big players like Josh and whatnot. And they were making massive plays on each side, and they were constantly going back and forth. I couldn't believe I was watching a Granary game where usually it kind of halts into that middle and like grinds out, but it was very exciting to watch. Ascent didn't take that very confidently, and from there, if they could just close out that Badlands game, I think it would have gone the way of Ascent as well.
I said like losing.
At this point,
I said just like losing rounds to like back caps and stuff, especially when it's like, you know, you've got a map up, you've neutralized like the map disadvantage. If you can just, you know, start doing your thing, like if you go 2 maps up in a grand finals, like regardless of the fact that it's effectively only one because of the rule set, from a confidence point of view and from like a, you know, that whole momentum point of view, you can really start like pushing forward, like pounding those guys into the dirt. But
yeah, you got to think of the winner's advantage as well, or the disadvantage, I should say, where if you're the usual winner or the tough kid on the block and you suddenly get punched clean in the face and spew a little blood, then people start questioning, is this guy so invincible as I think he's been perceived as or been given credit for? And the big bully will be questioning this themselves. I know that in that Granary match, there was a lot of, like, I guess just talking, spewing just like random stuff in their comms. It was really cluttered. They even commented on this in the interview. Yeah. And if this followed up with a Pro-Lands defeat as well, you imagine what the comms would have been like for like Process. I bet everybody would have been just so negative and toxic, and
Exactly. All the stuff that you love in TF2. I said, especially because like newer teams shoved together, and I said like Siege is gonna be there, just like bricking it. Like Tiger's gonna be in this position where he just wants to go and frag things, but if things aren't going well, that's not really gonna work. You have like everyone trying to make their stuff work. Where said they're still like newly formed, that like they're still kind of piecing things together a little bit.
Yeah.
You're gonna have Kato shouting at everyone, basically, terrifying people. They're gonna be like shuddering into the corner. Going 2 maps down. Maybe that's where Ascent basically takes it. 3-0. Maybe process could be a completely different thing, but almost a little bit like unfortunate. But then again, you have the same thing in reverse. Like we saw from your glorious post game interviews, Turbo, Ombrak was not a happy bunny.
Well, I think Ombrak, he never likes losing, but who doesn't?
Exactly. But that feeling of like you lose pro lands like that, you lose like bad lands to like random backup stuff, you're instantly going to get in that mindset of why are we losing 2 rounds to just like absolutely nothing? Like this was our chance to like get ourselves an advantage. Now we're basically still playing at a disadvantage. We've won a map, but we're still like a map down. Like you get that 1 map away from just like being able to lose a game. Like it gets in your head. It's all you're thinking about.
I don't think it would be so bad if they were losing bad lands in general, but because they were in like winning most of the bad lands, they seemed like in control in my eyes, and it was their game to lose really. And just these tiny mistakes of just the back caps that just kind of probably not consciously in their minds, but subconsciously they kind of felt like, well, that's just bullshit, isn't it? And you just don't care about the game anymore. You just want to get out of it. And I know that they've played this game for a long time and they've been doing it for a while now, but I can't help but feel that some of that baggage is going to be drawn into them for the process game.
Yeah, and like a process that was really noticeable. Like Granary was close. Badlands was just loss of a few stupid mistakes that they just couldn't recover from. And once it got to process, just like the mistakes for Ascent just got more just really apparent that they just messed up in situation 7, punished like without anything fancy in a lot of situations, and like a few minutes before it ended, like 10 minutes before the game ended, 7 was just like back in like prime position of playing slow and with the clock in mind, to the point where Ascent was just completely crushed and just couldn't respond anymore.
Yeah, you get in that situation where you're just smashing your head against a brick wall and you're just like, what is the point? I just want to go to bed, I don't know, eat 3 tubs of ice cream and just cry the night away.
Yeah, it was even...
That's always what I do when I lose.
Prolands was the map pick favorite for 7 as well. They've been picking this map for ages, and
they
be losing in the style that they were. It was just it would have been soul crushing if 7 lost that, I thought.
Very well could have been, but like I said, basically didn't happen. And then after all of that, so they said 7 takes it technically 3 maps to 1, 2 to 1 really. 7 continue as your ETFL reigning champions, going into quite possibly season 30, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you didn't even get time to sit. You didn't get time to sit and wait and just be like, oh, cool, 7 are the best again. We saw another game literally like a few days later. We had the Essentials Cup Grand Finals. I said it was slightly delayed, stuff happened, whatever. Grand Finals again, so it was another best of 3.
Well, the game did give you time to sit and wait because it was over very quickly.
Well, okay, right. You didn't have time to wait before the game, right? Then
you realized that you didn't want to wait anyway.
Right. So game happened.
Remind me, what were the lineups for that Essential Cup? Was it the same?
Pretty much the same, except somebody couldn't play on Ascent and Crafty was working. I'm not sure who it was. I think Credu.
Would that be Chris?
No, I'm pretty sure it was Credu.
Josh? Oh, Credit. Okay. Well,
Funds did play, so yeah, Credu was missing, and then we had everyone there for 7. Everyone you'd expect. So yeah, Credu down, Crafty there.
And it was just not fun to look at. Like, you could tell that Ascent's current lineup is winding down as an existing team, and I guess it's like bringing things early from stuff we're going to talk about, but it's official anyways at this point. So like Ascent's current lineup won't be playing next season. The Frenchies will Ascent and Ascent, that's not his name, Ombrak and Alico are, but like the rest are pretty much gone. Credu can't play. Funds doesn't have much time, and spoiler alert, but he's gonna be murking or subbing for 7 next season instead. So yeah, that's like already like 2 people gone pretty much. So
that is the lineup version of Ascent dead.
Yeah.
murdering
and after the
his
ETF 12 finals, I can't blame them for
All
not
the
being in the
motivation is
mindset
just
to
gone.
want to play, but like there's more money on the line in an Essentials Cup game that it like surprises me in general that they didn't play that first, because it would just make more sense. And then they just like half-assed showed up just to play the game. Like, yeah, you play the game because you have to, but at that point, like it almost practically didn't matter for them anymore. So what's the point? They just like showed up, like played stupid classes for like half of Gullywash, I think it was. Like they really didn't want to play that, and
Well,
with this much money on the line, it's just really stupid.
I mean, people have been saying this forever now. TF2 is not really about the money; it's about the pride
Well,
and
usually
the
because there's
competition.
no money to get in the first place, but like these Essentials Cups are just such a great opportunity.
Yeah,
It's
see,
just
this
it's
is
pretty
what I
much
want.
just a waste of Seven's time at that point.
I just I think this is the time. The gods of Essentials are going to rain down on us, and I want to see some people who are just playing TF2 for the money. I want to see people with no soul who are just grinding DM 12 hours a day just because of the money, you know? That's all I want. That's my dream for an esport.
I know. I think Dum's like the logical one, and I'm the emotional one.
You do it for the love, Turbo.
This is what it was like. People just thought about long term, and when you're going into a tournament like this, knowing that your team is going to break apart after like probably this last cup, you don't really feel like kind of grinding it out into a major like, because you need some sort of long term like reward from it. I know that like money is pretty good long term, but
Money's good.
a long term reward in like the team sense, like improving as a unit
Yeah.
or learning some lessons or walking away just as a better team and realizing, well, if we put any effort into this, it's just going to break apart anyway. So why should we bother?
It's true. Plus, like in fairness, you know, if you lose the game a few days before, and then you're just like, you know, grand finals or something else, you're in that mindset of, oh, we lost then, like we're probably gonna lose now, especially if you're like a guy down. So I can see the logic of being checked out.
So I actually
a little
like time checked things, and like people were leaving the ETF 12 roster before the Essentials Cup Grand Finals even happened. So they weren't going into that with the mindset of like really trying that hard to begin with.
Yeah.
Which makes it all the more stupid that they just wasted so much time trying to delay it in the first place to get a fair match with everybody there. And then it just eventually, oh wait, why would we even do that? And like it's just so
right, in a sense defense, I'm pretty sure like they wanted to play on the actual day. Like
yeah,
I think Seven was
sure,
the one
they
pushing
even
for like
wanted
it
a
being
default
pushed
win
back, so.
like at that rate, but it's not like they didn't have time to play that either. It's just a whole lot of stupid on both parts that just delayed the game to the point where Ascent basically gave up the money pretty much. Like it's just not really like for me as just a spectator, it's just like really aggravating to see this happen.
So would you say for the Essentials Cup that Seven were playing better like than they were in the grand final? Or
I think for the parts where Ascent actually like tried, which was just a little bit, Seven was like definitely stronger. Like the strongest Seven was in the Essentials Cup was stronger than they were at the strongest in the ETF Dragon finals, I would say. So like if this was the ETF Dragon finals for Seven, like they would have probably won in 2 maps.
Okay.
In fairness, they on Gully, was it Gully first or second? It was Gully second, okay.
I think it was Snake
Yeah.
first and Gully second, yeah.
So Snake, because it was essential rule set, so it was like first to 5. Said Snake was 21 minutes, Gully was 15 minutes.
Jesus.
With those kind of quick games, like both games did have like 6 rounds, but either way, those are some like quick rounds. You're seeing like, you know, an average of like 2.5 to 3 minutes per round. It was like pretty speedy anyway. So I would imagine they didn't give Ascent a lot of time to really, you know, position themselves, do anything. There was some stuff going on. So I guess, you know, I say it's the kind of thing where like if you lose a couple rounds and if you lose them quickly and without being able to put up much of a fight, it's like it's difficult mentally to come back from that. Like you always say against any team with like 7, if you can like even, you know, it was more applicable with like the old 7 than like the current version. But like you always say, you know, if you can get a couple rounds against them early, then suddenly you're in like a better position and 7 have to make things happen and like whatever. But if you lose rounds to them early, then you just become a bit like, I'm just gonna smash my head against a brick wall and this is just gonna be a miserable experience. And then I'm gonna lose anyway. So that's the guarantee for you right there. But yeah, it said Essentials Cup. It was what it was. Congratulations to 7. You get some more fat cash money dollar. So does Ascent, but not as much. Moving on to our other very recent cup, we had the Beta Map Test Cup, in which we looked at 3 new maps. I say new maps. Cardinal is kind of most people are pretty aware of it by now. It was actually in a previous E2F12 map cup. Cardinal is... Who is the map maker for Cardinal? Why can't I remember who it is?
Phi, I don't know which way it's pronounced, but
Phi,
map maker
apparently,
of
according
Sunshine
to our
and Vecna,
producer.
so pretty well known at this point, probably.
It is the
is that the
Phi
Banny map?
slash... It is
also
the
the
bad
Banny
map
map.
itself.
People
And
just
then, I am afraid to say that, but I actually like Cardinal.
it looks. I remember looking at it from a very early cast of like. It was kind of like a preview one where we were just looking at new maps. I think it might have been just like a random Essentials Cup, and Cardinal was just like leaps and bounds more beautiful than every other map. It's clearly a map that's been poured in a lot of love into.
I said just I didn't play in the cup. I played in one of the previous ones where they looked at Cardinal. I've played Propaganda before. I haven't played Synthetic, but from what I did catch of like the streams, it seemed more or less like you said, Cardinal was the most like finished, the most like proper kind of like map you'd expect to see.
I think Synthetic might be the least finished of the 3, but people still really liked it.
Which one was the King of the Hill map?
KOF Synthetic, the one I'm just talking about.
Okay. Right.
So, like the general opinion from what I can tell on the like voting thread from Beta on ETF12, where the team captains give their team's vote, it looks like Cardinal is like easily first right now, and Synthetic is like a close second. Which doesn't surprise me from what I heard. Like Cardinal, like I personally am just a big fan of how Cardinal plays out in Fury, and Synthetic in practice looked like a really decent KOF map. Obviously, there can be bait optimizations, but from the bit I did see, it looks really promising as a KOF map. It's not anywhere as close as Scout-centric as product is, which is obviously a good improvement already. It still allows sniper, but not to the extent that product does, which is also good, unless you really have an aggressive hold, in which case it's probably a slight bit better, but you know, and an aggressive hold like this shouldn't last too long. Otherwise, the other team just like is doing something wrong anyways.
Yeah, like
yeah.
So without having played it, so it's a little bit just kind of like theory crafting. I'm actually gonna be interested to see people's like written up feedback on Synthetic. Is just as a spectator point of view, to me it seemed like I get the idea of kind of limiting sniper by like you had there's a lot of like corners and kind of like tunnels, and like it just seemed like there were kind of walls and stuff everywhere. Like it was still reasonably open. It wasn't like it was particularly like enclosed, but there was like quite a few like walls and doorways and things which kind of it stopped the map from being so open. So yeah, like I get it's kind of it stops the sniper from like having as big an impact as you'd see on like other KOF maps. But to me, that kind of like walling off of certain things and like there's like a lot of bits of detailing, like pipes here and there, which to me seems like it would just be like a bit annoying in terms of like actually moving around the map and kind of like almost unnecessary, like bits of detailing which if this map is still in an incomplete position, like maybe those kind of like random bits don't actually need to quite be there just yet. But like I said, it's entirely theory crafting. I thought just looking at a stream, like there seemed to be like a lot of like walls and things like here and there, which like didn't make a great deal of sense. But at the same time, 100% I agree that some kind of KOF map where you don't just have where you can slightly lessen the impact of like snipers and scouts just shredding everyone, because like scouts are already good enough as it is. We don't need to, you know, let them farm everyone even like more. That being said, I think, yeah, from what I've seen, I would imagine if there's any hope of any of the maps seeing play in a future season, I would think it would probably be Cardinal. I think Cardinal's like the most kind of it seems like the most finished. It's I feel it's got some decent movement between points from like the bit that I've played. I've got like a couple reservations in terms of the movement around like second, because you have some like real extreme high ground, low ground kind of stuff, but it seems pretty decent. Like I don't know if there's some really like
I really like to just
stuff.
like draw. I just drew comparisons for like the entire day before that. Cup was played. I just looked at them on stream and just like compared stuff to how it would probably play out. And Cardinal is pretty interesting. Last is kind of unique in a lot of ways. Besides the one staircase that just leads to nowhere, that just like enables cheese backups probably more than anything. I think Lars is decent, but probably still the weakest area of the map.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely agree with
Anything
that.
out of last, it's getting better. Like lobby into
I really
second is
liked-
just really processed. Like the entire lobby area. Like if you look at it in theory, it's just really like processed lobby in the way you should push out of it. You have on the right side, you have one, you have the big lobby, and then you have the high ground point.
From what I can remember from the old preview a while back, I really liked the second point. I thought it had a unique idea where it has like this sort of island in the middle where you can just kind of rotate round and stuff like that. It's almost like a roundabout in a TF2 map and that's like an interesting concept to me. Like just some sort of clever little place that you can go about like that. And it's almost like another point within a point, kind of like the granary sort of style where you've got a yard area. It's like another little section to it, which is, again, an unexplored, experimented part of map making, which I thought would be interesting. But I agree with the last point, though. The last point, I could see that being a headache for some teams if they were to play in an ETF2L season. But I can definitely see the admins, the ETF2L admins, like just picking up on community favor and just going, yep, we'll just put whatever map wins this vote into the next ETF2L season.
The thing also with just like throwing in a map, at this point there's just enough people like hating at least one of like a few maps that we play that it just like really doesn't make a difference if we replace one of them with like a not known one, because somebody's always going to complain. So really you can't win as an admin there.
That is a constant
just
in TF2.
try something like really like
I mean,
like your free map that are just like universally like pretty much Process Gully Snake, and like those are probably the most played maps besides Badlands, even though people hate that.
I mean, Badlands is getting a lot of hate now. It's getting a lot of votes.
It's the new boys. The new boys don't like it.
Do you think it might be finally the day that Badlands will kiss goodbye to the map pool?
And then you have Product that's just stuck awkwardly in the middle because it's the only CoF map, which again, Synthetic could potentially add even another one, or like experimentally for one season and we replace Synthetic for Product. And then you have Badlands, Gran, Sunshine, Reckoner even as well. Like these sort of maps that either people love it or they hate it really hard, and it's not a 50-50 deal. It's at best a 75-25 deal with people disliking those. I, for example, like Granary, so I wouldn't mind that staying, but I can see why people don't like it. And yeah, it's just you can't make everybody happy. So like try something that might improve the situation. If it doesn't, then it can't be worse than before.
It's just really hard to kind of get a map that everybody likes, because sometimes maps aren't supposed to be designed like that. Sometimes some map makers want to go in as like, okay, I want a roughly soldier-centric map or something like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with making a map that favors like one class over another. It really tests like an entire team. And for example, like Granary is fairly different in gameplay compared to all the other maps, and that's what I like about it. It feels like a well-crafted, well-centered team will be good at all these sort of style of maps, not just like playing Badlands 2.0, Badlands 3.0, and just all these ones that just kind of replicate the same sort of game feel but with a different coat of paint.
Oh, TurboTaps, remember when you said that 7 is really good at Badlands? You have
yes.
evidence, a Disky saying Badlands is one of the best maps in the pool. Unless ironic, which easily could be the case. Like I'm
like
not gonna take
so.
away here, but
It's just that. It's just the last map. It's just that last point. That's. I think it's because of the change. It's people have got such a huge contrast to compare it to, so they're like, oh, it's not it's not my Badlands. It's not the Badlands I remember. I hate this new Badlands. So
I think I think with Badlands, like the reason why I didn't, at least in its current state, I wouldn't say it's worth removing Badlands from the pool, is at least from my point of view, Badlands mid to me feels really different to a lot of other mids. Like for me, Gully and Process mid feels pretty similar. Like even Snake is like much closer to those, whereas Badlands has, like, to me, has a completely different feel on the mid.
Yeah, it's iconic.
Like
yeah,
the
like
map
so
that I know, the closest that is to Badlands mid is actually Cardinal. Surprisingly enough, like I think that's the most like comparable out of anything I've seen.
Do you boys again could remember Yukon?
Well, I mean, let's not talk about that. Also, since we're on the
I
topic,
don't think Yukon's coming back, dude.
Since we're on the topic of maps, like this is absolutely not related to EU TF2, but NA TF2, because ESEA just like announced their new like map packing change for normal season officials, where like each team can like ban 3 maps before they play, and then of the resulting maps that are left over of these map bans, something will be played randomly, and like that's exactly what we're talking about. Like only the maps that people like will really be played, with the occasional situation where somebody left out something they don't like
Oh,
too
no.
much, and it just happens to be played when the other team loves it.
Can I
Oh,
can
no,
I ask
they
a very,
didn't pick
very important question?
Metalworks, the madman.
Can I ask a very important question? So does that mean that NATF2 are going to be able to pick the maps for their best of threes now?
I don't know if it's how it's for the playoffs. I only know that it's for the regular season.
I would
so-
imagine if they're letting people ban maps or whatever, we're actually going to see people being able to pick maps for best of threes, because like up until now, the fact that that's not been a thing is obscene
Yeah.
in my eyes.
Yeah, that is obviously stupid,
That's
and that's just like a relic
baffling.
of ESEA being not a tier 2 league, and
It
you
did,
can just
it did
notice.
force teams to be more well-rounded, though, where
Well, it did, but then like if it's a best of three where maybe it's their two best maps in a map which you're
Well, yeah,
okay
but-
on, you just be like,
but now
well,
it's
you
a-
know. good
Now
luck.
it's a best of 3 coming out of the season where you can just actively avoid your worst map at any
Yeah.
given day of the week, to the point where you just never play it again. It also will make scrims awful because nobody knows what the fuck to play anymore. Previously, you just
Oh,
played
yeah,
the
that's
same
a good
map
point. Yeah.
for a week entirely. And yeah, it might not be fun to look at Metalworks for a week and be depressed afterwards, but like at least you practice the map you know you're gonna play.
yeah,
You're gonna
and
have like
not-
a spreadsheet of teams that are willing to play like, okay, this team's willing to play Gullywash, which we're
Yeah,
probably
it's
gonna
just
play.
gonna be
That
an
team, they're not.
all-time
We just won't play them.
nightmare.
let's be fair. It's going to be like EU, where you play our map, we'll play yours, but
Yeah,
Makes
yeah.
Well,
you
yeah, but then
wonder-
you still practice a map that just doesn't matter to you, which in EU
Yeah,
at best
it all-
comes up
yeah,
if
yeah.
you like already played your official early that week, and then you know what you're getting yourself into at least. And for NA, it's just going to be such a nightmare to organize stuff now, with as well people just not practicing the map potentially entirely. And like I can already tell that there's going to be enough teams that are just going to play Process, Gully, and Snake the entire season.
yeah, there's just going to be no Metalworks. That map is going to be gone from the face of the earth.
Product is probably going to be played like 80% less as well, just because there's enough people who just don't want to take the risk, even if they're not even that bad on it.
Boy,
It's going to be
there's
weird.
a lot of passion about these maps. Should
There is
we,
a
should
lot
we
of
keep
passion.
going? Should we move
Yes,
on? What's
right.
the...
Yeah. So I said those that was a map cup. That happened. That was a topic we were on about 20 minutes ago. Your boys, don't make me say it, the French team won it. I can't
French team.
pronounce the name.
I casted the thing like on most of the cup, and I just like called people by their nationalities the entire time. And there were like 3 Russian teams, and I just all called them the Russians. So
The Russians didn't win anyway. It was Frenchies versus the Brits,
and
and the
Hungary.
Brits lost. So unlucky boys. Your boy Raf is still a god. They won 2-1. So congratulations to those guys. There was probably some kind of
there was
keys
some money
involved.
on the line, not
Yeah.
actual money. Like
Actual
I don't
money.
know how much, over 100.
Oh yeah, Beta put some
bucks,
dollar
I
down.
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Beta is like doing so much for that. 150 Connected Games. So yeah, there was actually stakes there.
Shout
There
out
was
to
actually
Beta.
an incentive to like know what you're doing on the maps, and those teams clearly did more so than the others at the end of the day. They also were like, there weren't that many high level teams, which was really unfortunate, especially because there was money on the line. I expected at least a couple more like Div 2, Div 1 level teams, but really there was like 3 or 4 at best, and like 2 of them ended up in the same side of bracket as well.
But like it's always rough with
I-
those kind of like weekend tournaments. It's like
I think it's
so many people
the
like
timing.
doing things, especially like
It's-
starting quite early as well.
It's not just that; it's the ETF2L timing as well. It came after the ETF2L season, so a lot of
Yeah.
teams have disbanded and they're starting to make new teams. And you're a little bit,
Well, and the Frenchies were a mixed team to begin with, so that's that.
yeah. But they've always been like a core set of friends that have always played together and like enjoyed mixes and all this stuff. But you need to keep in mind there's people in the Prem echelon where they're kind of wondering what team am I going to play in next week and whatnot. And you're kind of thinking, do I even have time to kind of bring together a mixed team or set allegiances or something along
Well,
this
I mean,
line?
that-
Like,
that's just
if you see
even bigger
Kato
props to
playing
the
with
people
funds,
that-
like,
that
do you
even
think many
bothered.
people want to look at funds for their teams or something like that? If he's busy playing with, say, Kato, or compared to, I don't know, it seems dumb, but
I mean, the bottom
sometimes
line here
these
is
old
that,
friendships-
like, at least some people actually cared enough about the future of the map pool, where some people that clearly could play just didn't bother to even have shitty mix going, with the off chance of being the best shitty mix to win $150. And like if you don't even go through that little effort, if you have the time, at least, like obviously some people just not gonna have the time, but if you do have
Damn.
the time, and then complain afterwards about the map just being awful next season, then
Dude,
like what
I
are you
was-
doing?
I was busy. Chill. Okay.
Damn dumb. Like, if you're not with us, you're against us.
You've got family.
Like that's I know that's like a Barney level rant, and who wants that? But like really, if you had the time and like didn't bother to play, like don't complain about
Kano. Why?
like then at least not complain about Sunshine being in next season if it's gonna be in, or like nothing changes again like for the 10th time in a row now.
Man.
Right. With that being said, let's move on slightly. Let's move on to the bit everyone's interested in, and that is season 30 rumors. Because obviously, still fairly early in the off season. We got about like a little bit over 3 weeks for season 30 is actually going to start. But there's already some teams shaping up. There's a lot of players, deciding whether or not they want to do things. There's a lot of people working out. Yeah, where their team's going to want to continue, where they're going to find themselves in desperate need of some new boys. As
Yeah.
Dumpton correctly stated, Ascent EU, as we know it, is fully rest in peace. But in its
And
place, we
since we're
have
on
a
that topic,
legacy team.
fun fact: I am on an SDV as we speak right now, seeing the future of Ascent, which is gonna be a lot more French than last
the
season.
podcast.
I was on the server the entire time. Actually, that's a lie. I like opened up the ETF Dragon Finals demo for a second. But
Oh, if we can do all this
Yeah,
stuff as well, let
we
me
could
just slap
see-
on a DVD of Sopranos or something. You know what? Let's
well,
get.
at least my stuff is
mate,
topically
okay.
related, seeing
get
as I
Sherlock
have
on there,
Ascent's
shall we?
future
Let's-
roster in front of me, and it's gonna be full French. That's not a secret. Ombrek pretty much confirmed it like 2 hours ago on Twitter. It's gonna be all French, so that's not a secret entirely. Just like you actually have to do the deep research of going to the ETFL roster to see who's playing, and it's just a lot of old faces, like you mentioned at the beginning. I see Ombrek, Neo, Opti, Medico, Elakur, and Korbeck, and Opti not on
Medico.
development but Scout. So it's pretty much top 5 revival again, except like slight class swap because Elakur is just nuts. And like at this point, it's fair to say he's better than Opti ever was on Demoman, which sounds harsh, but Elakur is just insane. So
Alacor is nuts. There was a reason why he was player of the season 28.
yeah, he has gotten really, really good. And if
Is it
Opti
like-
can just step up on Scout, which from the little bit I paid attention to the game actually, with instead of talking to you guys, seemed all right at least. So there's potential.
For me, the biggest thing I want to see is like Medico and Korback playing Soldier. Because like Medico was always nuts and people always love Korback roaming. Absolutely like love him. He even got nominated for Roam of the Season, one of the seasons where he played Pocket. So like they love him. They love him to bits. And like those two boys together, like as much as obviously Ascent EU is like a second place team, people are thinking, oh, can they like maybe like contest like first place or whatever? Despite the fact that that team's like, collapsed and we're seeing a top 5 thing, like that roster is not something to be like ignored. That's not like a team where you're like, oh, they'll be like a bottom prem team, a 7 or 8. Like that team, based on the competition, logically should be like shooting for playoffs. They have some big baller gamers.
Do any of you guys actually know how the like rule is with teams like losing players to stay in Prem? Because I know they're second place technically, but the only people from the playing roster from last season are Ascent and Ombrek and Korbeck and
I think if you
Neo,
have more
I
than
think.
3 players or
Yeah, but
3
because the
players or
thing is,
more,
like 2 of the active lineup stayed together, but like 2 more were technically rostered the entire time, and only Medico and Opti actually had to
I
be
think
added
it's
back.
based on games played. So
Okay,
if
then-
they
then they actually have
season.
Then we find ourselves in a situation where the second place team in Prem has to go through the preseason play of qualifier thing.
Listen,
Which is
well,
Well, no,
1/3 off, so-
not entirely. You can still just do it by screenshots. Like if you're just convincing enough to the admins, if they think like, yeah, this is a pretty good team, we'll just throw them in there. Do that. It's
Well,
preseason.
the thing is that yes, they are still mechanically sick. They might be a little bit rusty, but they have a little bit of time to come back. But just coordination, they just haven't played them together with for such a long time that it's not going to be on point quite yet. Even though they're probably going to do quite well. And the last, like I saw 3 maps
It's
in the span of
based on
like the
screenshots,
last
I think.
1.5 hours,
If
that they're doing at least decent enough to win against some other teams. But like, how big is the difference going to be that they're going to put themselves apart from the other teams to actually like convince the admins?
yeah, well, it's just basically based on that. I think the new school rules for most of the admins now, usually if they put everybody in a preseason playoff, it kind of quells all argument and like
Well,
flame
the
on
thing is
forums.
also we have the weird situation where we have very little teams actively in Prem right now that aren't gonna forcibly have to go through the qualifier. Because if I look at the lineup, 7 is gonna stay together, that's for sure.
Right.
And after that, it's gonna be sketchy. The Swarm, that Nunya mix team, is gonna revamp the roster a little bit, but they just
but I heard
barely
it's
dance
getting
on the.
better.
Yeah, they're barely dancing on. I don't know about that necessarily, but they're dancing on the line of not having to play the qualifier, just barely by like one player basically. So they're gonna stay in as the like 6th place Prem team, and that is it basically. No other team is staying together, except for the bottom 2, who still go under roster changes to the point where they would have to play the qualifiers anyway. And that's 7th and 8th, so they, regardless of if they did or not, they would have to play the qualifier as well. So we have like 6 open Prem slots right now, and everybody else has to go through the qualifier unless they can like convince the admins.
Well, I think once upon a time it was based on like an admin's judgment whether or not a team was good, and now admins just save themselves the headache and just put everybody in the qualifier, because this way it stops any forum flaming or any sort of admin abuse or admin hate.
That won't stop it, to clarify, right?
I mean,
It ain't gonna make a difference, but
I wouldn't say anybody has like surprised me insanely positive so far. A little bit maybe, but not to the point where I say they don't deserve to at least be tested in a qualifier. The only ones that I feel have the best shot right now, and that's just really early, it's still like 3 weeks until the season, are Electro with their new roster, which, since we're already on the topic, we can like discuss what it's going to be. And it's not surprising, it's just going to be the LAN roster, really. I think,
so you got Eskimo and all them lot. And
yeah, Eskimo was already added to ETIF roster, so that's good for them
Nice.
as well.
I think that was
so,
just that. This is based off a successful Copenhagen LAN, I guess.
Yeah, they apparently really like to play with each other, and they already had a little bit of promise there to play really good. They were just like defensively really shaky at times, or maybe not that, but just like over eager in a lot of situations to want more than they can actually afford to get in situations.
I think it's that
a lot
LAN
of
love.
that is slowly being fixed. They might not have like any insane results against Seven, but it's getting better, and that's really promising. So
I'm interested to
going
see
upward.
Eskimo in a Prem setting. You know, he had a decent LAN from what I can remember. So
yeah, well, like the thing is with Eskimo is he was it was the ongoing joke that he was like the Ascent intern. He was like the Ascent
yes.
intern pocket. So when Josh left, Eskimo would like fill his shoes. But obviously with Ascent folding, he's now got to be a big boy on his own team. But like say considering the stuff he was doing with Ascent, I heard like Ombrak saying really good things about him. So I said after the LAN, like they're clearly a team which they feel pretty happy like playing with each other. I think your boy Eskimo might be making some big things happen. I said Eames is already like pretty proven in Prem as a demo man anyway. He did a bunch of stuff. Like his first real time playing in Prem, he murked for one of like the semi-final or something games and like did a great job. So you got some big boys, and that's on a team which said currently like it was 7th place in Prem, but looking to pick up some people.
Yeah, and the thing is also they have the sort of people that like do want to put in like the brain effort to improve as well, which is worth a lot in my opinion. And like that alone will help them quite a bit improve already. So that will help them so much. And that's just one team. There's so many potential teams forming. I think we can stay on the topic of teams that played last season, like remaking the rosters. Next up is obviously Basku as the last place of Prem last season, just like closely losing.
the household name now. They got t-shirts.
Jonathan are basically the core of the team that will stay together. Poison was a little bit of a question mark, but I haven't seen him play with them in a while. It could still happen, but I'm not sure. Ivan Tops were basically gone like after LAN immediately, so that's confirmed already. They tried a lot of people, and I'm not sure. I've seen Sorix with them a lot, which also skips over to Lego not being a thing next season. But I don't think that's too much of a secret.
Whoa, dude! Whoa. Slow down. Hang on a second. One at a time. Right. The bus crew one, right? Martin was streaming mere moments ago. He did say, from the horse's mouth, Martin and Jon will, say like you just said, they're like the core. So far, they've apparently been trying, the core of 2, whatever. They've been trialing Rising. They've been trialing Mr. Epic. They've been trialing. Said I saw them playing with. Who were they playing with?
Well, I mean, if we're already talking about Mr. Epic, then we kind of have to preface that by like making it known that low planner is pretty much not going to be a thing next season, despite winning Div 1. They were a little bit of a question mark.
You're spoiling everybody.
They made it a question mark in like directly after the Grand Finals if they're going to play or not, but after losing a couple of players, it's pretty unlikely already. So it's probably not going to happen for them. And yeah, with Mr. Epic already trying elsewhere as well, that would be like 3 people gone at that point.
Yeah, but I said, but like the thing is, with Low Panda, you know, a little bit collapsing, those are some big fraggers out there on the market. Those who still want to play. So I said,
Yeah, for
Mr.
sure.
Epic is a pretty ownage scout. I said he was one of the reasons why Low
Dude, that
Panda
guy's-
worked as well as it did.
That guy's insane. Like I
He's
think
nuts. He cheats.
Yeah,
But the
he's-
thing is, it's like early off season, so like everybody's trialing everywhere, and it's hard to tell anything
Yeah.
for sure unless you're actually one of the players on those teams. And you do
Yeah.
actually know something. So like Rising has tried for like everything at the moment. And
Exactly.
who
So if
knows?
you are on one of those teams, message me your juicy gossip. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Rising can probably get on any team at this point. Like he had an
Pretty
amazing LAN at Copenhagen, and he's
Well,
shown
that's
that
nice.
he's not. Well, can you really call the guy rusty? The guy's been around, but just been teamless for a little bit, just because he kind of drops out at random intervals for random reasons. But that guy is insane. Like that guy, he's one of the smartest roamers, and like if you put him into the season, I guarantee he'll be roaming the season, probably by the end of it.
Guarantee.
I'm going to guarantee it. Bam it.
Holy shit. All right. Yep.
Clip.
He already has my vote. Don't you? Cliff already got my vote. I said like any team. I would have thought like any team currently looking for Roma, Rising can more or less like take his pick off. I guess is like, you know, for him it'll just be a case of trialing around, seeing what team.
If he gets
like,
a top 3
meets his
team,
own.
I guarantee that guy will get room of the season.
See, you're changing your goalposts already. Changing your goalposts, you know.
Okay,
Is it
what
like-
else do we have? Let's see.
We have. Well,
Of the existing
we'll go
teams
back a
dying-
second.
Okay.
I say if we go back a quick second to say, as much as we glance past it, I literally did talk to your boy Phil just before we started, and he was saying that like Lego returning, like basically there's no chance at this point. Apparently Zen's not really interested in playing, neither is Codnum. No idea about like Phil as a lone entity. I don't know who he'd even like consider like playing for. I don't know quite like with Josh, but if like Lego's a little bit whatever, then for all you know, the remaining Lego players might just like off class, play some other season in like a lower div, upset some more people, who knows. But like to me, that's a little bit disappointing because I was hoping to see like a big like Lego return.
Yeah.
Especially like, season 30 is supposed to be like the big one before LAN. After seeing the whole we had our old Lego versus new Lego thing at Hugs, like that was awesome. I love seeing
I've still
like
got the
Lego
rosters
guys
on my
together.
little whiteboard.
Yeah? Oh my god. Dude, you're so keen. Oh my dude.
You might have to reverse this.
That's
Oh.
beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, after seeing like all the Lego boys like playing
Look at
together,
my EU handwriting.
I was really hoping they'd be like, they'd form something like awesome for like season 30, but apparently as of right now, like I said, like 3 weeks out, like nothing much is happening there. So
Yeah.
bit disappointing for me. It would've been
And
cool
on the
to see.
topic of that teams, they're not surprising ones. Like that should be pretty obvious. The German team from last season and Nunya are dead. Nunya died like season, and the Germans were probably not even meant to be a team that was gonna last long. I just hope we're gonna see more of Clip and Idlos. Both of them have like so much potential. I really hope there's gonna be more of them we'll see, but that's obviously stuff for next season to be seen. Idlos would have been my vote for player or like player debut of the season. Like he's the like quiet pocket scout kind of guy that's not gonna like make all the flashy stuff happening, but he was really consistent. And Clip also has a lot of potential, so I hope we see more of those.
It's just hard when you're in a team with Shocky, because Shocky just takes all the limelight and all the love. Like he just hoovers it up from not just from the casters but from viewers as well. It's really hard to kind of step out of that guy's shadow. It's just the dude's so massive.
And I think this ties in really well into like potential new teams, and one that's like low-key confirmed is Swift, with 2 players from the German teams moving over from there, being the not Germans, Crafty and Smurra, leaving the German teams for that. And it looks like the roster is going to be, and they also scrimmed earlier. I didn't see it because I couldn't get on the server, but it's Sam Z, Connor Condor, Papi, who's now going by Mick AZN for God knows what reason.
Why,
Crafty,
Patrick, why?
Obviously.
Chris on Roma as well, and Smurra, as I mentioned. So
Hmm.
looks like a roster that could go a
Sounds
long ways if
solid.
they coordinate stuff, obviously. And
Depends
yeah, just really
how
needs
much
a strong main
try-hard
order.
how try-hard they're going for this season. I could see that being a second-place team, really upset.
It depends on how quickly they can improve. They gonna get this shit together, basically, is what it comes down to.
Is it? Well, if there's a season of tryhard, it's going to be season 30 before LAN. Because, like I said, this is the time for teams to like actually sort their stuff out,
I mean,
get prepared for LAN, and then see if they can stand a good chance of actually winning that series.
What do you think, Dom? Is that a LAN team? Is there anybody on there that hasn't been to a LAN?
I don't know. That's a lot of Brits. They have little to no excuses. Samsey probably, if he already makes
Samsey
a
would
top team like that, he would go to LAN, and Smurf is basically going to every LAN he can. So if these guys don't go to LAN, then it's just a big bait, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely a team designed with LAN in mind. Guarantee
Most likely. I mean, you could tell a team is built with LAN in mind if like half of them are Brits, basically.
I mean, not always true.
It's not too far from the truth. Some Brits are just really poor. Trains are ridiculous over here, dude.
Oh yeah.
Then take a bus. That's what I did to get to Denmark.
Oh my god. I can guarantee
Take a bus for the
your
sea,
bus to
actually.
Denmark's like cheaper than me to get like transport anywhere. Like
Probably.
right. Ignoring that. So I said you've got this swift looking team. We've got whatever's gonna return of 7, which I believe is gonna be basically like the same.
Oh yeah, speaking of 7, we like I mentioned it just a little bit, but like it's not a secret that Tiger can't play next season officially. Realistically, they're gonna like make it as like feasible as possible to still have him practice for LAN, which means he will, like, as far as I heard at least, like play all the scrims, and Fans, who doesn't have that much time, would just like play once a week with them, the officials basically, which is a little bit weird. Like they're not gonna play full roster for the big games, but yeah, just everything else, they're just going to rely on Fans, which isn't obviously a bad backup by any means. It's just, like all the things that they do together are going to be launched with Tiger, basically.
Yeah, it's the first time I've heard of that situation. Usually it's the other way around. You have the people that are going to be playing at LAN officials only and then doing scrim. Because scrims are considered, a bit boring, and officials are the fun, pure TF2 that you crave.
It's going to be weird.
A little bit of a question mark as well is Omni 5, which I would have just been sad to see a sponsor just fiddle away because the team just can't stay together. But it's a big question mark at the moment. I think Damos is trying to find some people and trialing different people. He added like one person to his roster from a Div 1 playoffs team. So there's that.
I have a quick question, Dumpton.
Yes.
Do you have like little like Google alerts or something like set up for like when stuff happens on ETF12? Are you just
no?
Are you plugged into ETF12? Yeah. Are you just say like F5 you wake up each morning F5 the roster? Oh yeah.
Well, maybe not at 5, but like at 8 in the evening when scrim start, I see what's on there to watch, so I can at least practice casting a little bit. Because I mean, I did cast a lot, but like it was still technically my first season, so I do want to improve. And I mean, what better way is there to just like watch scrims where people do try to play mostly series until like the last like 3 minutes basically. And once I see stuff that like looks interesting, I just check, hey, are they actually doing stuff on ETF? That's how I find things.
Yeah, there's a lovely thing on the ETF12 called just like transfers. If you just look for this little section on the other, just go on transfers, and you can sort it by like 6v6 team or something like that. That's a wonderful
That's
page.
too much effort. I just like check the same people every time, basically.
I mean, I glance at that like every now and then because that's where you find like the shockingly early stuff where you're just like, oh, such and such just left the team, or such and such has just joined the team, or this person that was once playing a long time ago has become active again. They're playing in like a 6v6 team in like Div 2 or 1 or something.
So yeah, that Omni 5 thing is still a question mark. From the people he tried, he's not necessarily like picked up for trials like only like top Prem players. Like I mentioned, Div 1 playoffs is not bad by any means, but it's gonna be a workload to improve on to get them there, basically. So there's the potential scenario where Omni 5 could end up in Div 1, in my opinion. Who knows? Maybe they're just gonna step up massively and gonna trash people once preseason playoffs start turning up. But that's still an option entirely that they also just don't play. Who knows? Like everything is a question mark.
I think it's just the lack of LAN presence. Like usually at these at Copenhagen games, a lot of people like talk about making teams for next season, or saying, "Oh, we should play in a team together," or just kind of get a vibe for what a person is like and if they're nice to hang around with. And because it's that LAN environment, everyone's happy, full of joy, constantly just showing the good parts of the personality. And if you're a player like Rising or something, it's a lot easier to go and join Yon's team than it is to look at Demo's teams. because he hasn't
pretty
been far.
much. A whole different scenario, like of the Div 1 teams, like at least the playoffs ones that like really want to like try and see what they can do for the preseason qualifier. It's looking a little bit weird because Lopan is obviously dead at the moment, maybe not entirely, but most likely. Then on second place we have Danger Dogs, which seems dead to me. Like half the players left already, so that's pretty much not a
Dead.
option anymore.
A nation team.
Then we have on the fourth place, skipping one here, Red Pandas, which also seems to be falling apart. One of the players obviously went to Demos' roster, and everybody else is also fiddling away. So that's also gone. And the only Div 1 team players level-wise that's going to stay together, and according to their own rec post, so I'm not even like having real inside information here, are putting a real effort in to try hard for the qualifier to make it prem, are going to be the Bugs, aka the Weeps, aka the admins.
Yeah, but exactly, admins don't make prem. Don't worry, that's guaranteed top 4.
Hey, we have
I mean,
pretty good,
they
we have pretty
did
good
it once.
screenshots this season.
they made it once into prem, so who knows? But yeah, they're going to put in effort to make it. Basically, they're just needing a new demo man, and they trial different people.
Do you think they're
I've
going
seen
to
that
go
I've
to
seen
the
Hydro,
Warfare
so-
yeah card?
Maybe they're going to try that again. Who knows? But they tried Leto again, who is currently teamless. They tried Hildreth, who with Lopan that would be looking for a team. And I guess joining a new squad full of Finns wouldn't be much of a change of pace.
Is that it? Is that our rumors? Are we done?
Probably not. There's a news project as well. Like he's trying to make a team, and like
Just
the only
keeps
people I've
going.
seen him. There's so much going on. Like don't bother. News project. He's making a team. I think the only people he played.
That's
with,
actually
like,
a big
Shit, the
consistently-
news project. How can we
So,
forget the
yeah,
news project?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, the only people he played with consistently are Honey and Ixie that I noticed like every game basically. Like that seems to be a definite for me.
So he was saying at Hugs, right? How like he was saying about how did I forget this? Right, good point. News was saying at Hugs, like he was just like on it constantly, telling everyone who would listen for like half a second, yo, like this project's gonna be like nuts, right? I said like him, Honey, Ixie, like basically guaranteed dudes. I said he was trying like a bunch of other people. He had some loving kind of puppy eyes in the direction of Rising as well. I think like most teams currently looking for Roma. But if there's ever going to be a team which is going to be like sweating it, it's going to be that team, you know?
Yeah, I think
News is gonna be like a
had
sweaty
the
game.
unfortunate pleasure to yesterday witness the scrim where they had Ralph and Olga, which that alone wasn't the bad part. The bad part was that it was on product and it ended in a Pyro mirror match, and like that wasn't that much fun to look at. Eventually, they just went sniper to outbrain each other, and it just ended like a normal product game at that point. So that was a whole lot of weird, but that's potential people again, just like two Frenchies on the prem level floating around there without a team.
Yeah, based on like random stuff that I'm just like browsing through, they're not getting bad results on the whole like scale of things. And like I said, if it, you know, since as with most teams, they're pretty newly like being formed. I would have thought any team which has like News taking the reins they're gonna have no choice but to improve basically, because he'll be sitting there, like I said, braining everything up till like 3 a.m. every morning. And then just like, you know, suddenly get there 20 for scrims, and you'd be like, look guys, I've got a way in which if we have like one engineer and 3 guys on the flank, we'll like take mid for free 100% of the time. And you're like, you can do it, News. You do your thing. So I actually think the News project is like one of the ones to really look to in terms of not necessarily like how they're playing now, but how they're going to play like 3 weeks from now. I think they're going to be like super, super keen, especially once they get like a stable 6.
Yeah, the only one that I remember right now, and that's also on the topic of LAN teams, because they pretty much just come from a LAN, is what was MGE Chat at Copenhagen LAN, having scrimmed a bit with the old roster again, not too much, or most of the old roster, except I think Potato once in a while hasn't played for them, so I don't know about that, but like Moro still, different demo mans as well, but sometimes early, like these sort of people. Yeah, sometimes I think Spot was there once with them as well. Like, it's still all a question mark, even if it's gonna be a team. Who knows? Like, nothing's happening on ETF 12. So, again, it's like off season. You can't really tell anything for sure. But we've seen those thrown around a bit.
Just random things I'm looking at, like I said, like a team with Silentes, Feeling, Marash, like
Yeah, basically.
you've got like all these
That's
kind of
good.
like a regular kind of boys from that whole demographic said possibly like Ali, like, you know, these are all big gamers.
Wait, did you say Feeling?
Feeling was playing with them.
Wow, that's
April
that's
30th.
pretty good. That's really good because Feeling's like really, really underrated in a way. Like he's just extremely. He's like probably one of the most solid pockets you'll ever see in a game. But he's just maybe not mega flashy, or people just seem to forget about him once he disappears. But that guy is like his worst critic as well. He's the one that would probably cut him. Well, actually, he did cut himself, didn't he, last time around? So it's glad to see him back in the game.
We've got apparently it's imperative that we talk about the bin, right? Who
The
up
bin
until
is-
now I've not heard anything about.
I
However,
actually saw
do you
that.
have
I don't
something
know.
to say?
I forgot about it. And
So-
I wouldn't have much to say about it. I just looked up the roster right now. I saw like a little bit, not much. Like the current roster seems to be Gandhi, Pratt, Ratslayer, Rocket King, who I think is an American.
Rocket
He's a
King.
legendary- He was a
Fucking
legendary
Ubers.
American.
You
So
don't.
I don't know who's
Gem
actually supposed
Shockling,
Are
to
you,
play.
right?
Seriously? Is Rocket King on there?
He's
on the
rostered. I don't
roster.
know if he's going to play. Obviously, like
No,
who knows?
that's a meme. Okay, moving on.
I mean, they have some big names there with like Ubers and stuff. So like,
Ubers.
technically, they have
Hello.
the potential.
You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention, Dom. Okay.
Well, Ubers can just carry that hard, and if you look at the logs from like the other day, basically, I mean that's basically the story of the game. Like Ubers carrying that much, and they still
Who's the
aren't
medic?
performing that well. Well, Champagne, I would assume then.
Champagne. Okay.
The other day they're apparently playing with Daegu. I don't know if that was just a Merc or whether that was a trial, because I think Daegu is LFT
No,
anyway.
that was probably like sticking with Swarm Boys.
Is he? Okay, then yeah, it's probably just Merc instead. Champagne is in other previous games, so dude, that's
I can
that's
see
some
that team.
boys.
I can see that team in Prem.
Yeah.
I can see
Well, I mean,
like,
it fully
they
depends
have to go
on
through
like,
Prem qualifiers, but I
like we
think,
have like these 6 slots in Prem right now without anybody making it safe, and like basically almost
how
everybody
many
can make it as long as
teams-
somebody goes one game.
So we know we got 6 slots. How many teams are there in total, Dom? If you had to kind of give me a calculation.
I think I counted 7 with all of them I mentioned, and like
So-
with that doesn't take into account like random shit that hasn't happened yet. So as long as nothing dies anymore, and I said this before Lopena died as well, and that's going to be the outlook for now without anybody else making a new team. And there's
So
still
just
so
to
many players
clarify-
floating around.
To clarify, like, so it's 7 new look Ascent / top 5. We've got
News project.
the News Project team. We've got this new looking Swift team.
ETF 12
MGE
weeks.
chat.
We've got this potential MG Chad team. We have
The
that's
Weeps.
5.
Weebs.
The Bugs, the Weebs, the Bugs.
Swamp.
The Swamp.
And they're safe.
Potentially the Bin. You have Aura Electro as well,
And Bus Crew.
and Bus Crew. So that's 10, unless we've like double counted somehow. So
How many
I don't think
fingers
we
have you got on that one hand, Neeply?
After 5, I went back to 1 again. It's just
All right.
it's a technique I'm working on. So that's 10 just there. which
And you
is
have
more
like
than-
so many people that
and
are
yeah,
still
you
looking
still
for
have
teams.
a bunch of like LFT, like
Like Alba Tops from Bus Crew or without a team right
Alba
now. They're like
Tops, like-
trialing for stuff. Rising obviously has no team yet, but that's probably going to change. Like somebody's going to take him up. Potato as well. I'm just like looking at the Prem records right now. War's looking for a team again, and Prem as demo man to try hard a little bit again. Pandemic, who's top Asia Fortress scout, who like moved recently a little bit, I heard, or something like that. He wants to play on a
he
top level
moved
as
back,
well.
my dude. He was
moved back,
ETFL
either
long
way.
before. Pandemic was
Either
like
way,
one of the OG boys back in the day.
well, I'm a new boy, so I wouldn't know. But there's so many people that are like looking for team. Polygon as well is coming back again.
Yeah.
Spot's looking for a team. Like all of these could just
Wow.
easily end up in one of these projects, and at that point, that's probably just like place for like one more team off of these people. Like Fishkopf is looking for a team.
Jesus.
Poison, like everybody.
My God.
Everyone who's anyone is currently looking for a Prem team.
Sounds like I need to take a register. There's just so many of the.
And I say
games
plus
that-
there's the kind of thing where similar to last season, you have a bunch of teams which are like ultimately going to end up in Div 1, but they want to like really try hard over the off season and see if they can't like at least compete in Prem playoffs. So like usually you'll have like a couple teams like from Div 1 who like really think they can work hard and like try and get like a spot in like at least Prem playoffs to like start fighting. So I don't know quite how the admin's going to work. I guess it will mostly be like results based in terms of like who the solid ones are, but there's a very reasonable chance there might be like 3 or 4 slots which are entirely based on some ridiculous Prem qualifier thing.
Oh,
yeah, and like at the
God.
end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if something dies just because they didn't make Prem. That always happens.
Oh, it always happens.
Usually it's like some like
It'll be during the
team
qualifier.
without Prem experience that just like really thinks, hey, we're good enough, and like a rude awakening comes that they're not. And given the like for the quality of the future season, that's obviously the best outcome if it comes to it, which sounds like kind of shitty, but you know, you don't want to see the good rosters just die because they barely missed out on Prem, even though if they continue doing good, they could just win Div 1.
In fairness,
Yeah,
if some
that
nice
takes
things happen,
months.
if there's some nice things that happen, and maybe you end up with like a bit of a prize pool for Div 1, suddenly Div 1 looks a little bit, like more pleasant. Maybe teams aren't going to bother with Prem playoffs. They'll just farm Div 1. Maybe this is just like the sandbag Div 1 season. Who knows?
A prize pool for Div 1. Ho ho, Eepily, we are getting naive.
Well,
now.
suddenly Law Planner isn't dead anymore.
Yeah, suddenly they're just like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Yeah, like there's a whole bunch of teams. There's more than enough people like looking for Prem in order like to fill all these teams out and to make some like good stuff happen. And like
you
as
just
always,
really need a dedicated main caller for each of them, and then you could go which is the difficult part.
And I can see some teams winging it and getting past the Prem qualifiers without a solid main color.
But after that, it's gonna be getting
during the season,
again,
really
pooped
quickly.
on.
It will eat that team out alive.
And then,
like
wait, why are we not doing good? I thought we were six
Pretty much.
people.
But I can definitely see teams kind of scratching past without a main caller, just kind of winging it for the qualifiers, and then the lack of main caller will be a big issue in the team, and they'll know it's an issue within the team, and they'll try loads of things, and it will just eat the team inside out, and it'll be dreadful to watch for them, but it'll be wonderful to watch for me. So it'll be good. It'll make good for coverage.
It'll be beautiful carnage in bottom Prem.
I just want to see the Pastor Scout matchup again, Ixie versus Sorix.
Oh man,
that'd be
fun.
good actually. Dude, what if they both end up on the same team? How would you contest that? How would you contest the Raw Pastor?
How
Right,
are we
wait,
gonna
I'm messing-
cast a matchup of Nevo or Nevo, even if you want to pronounce it that way, against Neo? Both French scouts. That's also gonna be a mess.
You'd cast it with enthusiasm, Dumpton. With great enthusiasm and
Gonna be greatly confusing.
huge vigor.
I can hear the YouTube comments now. Oh boy.
Anyway, so that is, I think we've covered more or less everything we could possibly think of in terms of random roster changes. As I said, in 3 weeks from now when the season starts, it may be a completely different field, but this is the info we have today. All random rumors, disclaimer, like 10% of it is set in stone. So I said everything's going to go absolutely crazy. But
I think a good indicator of who's doing what, like relatively for sure, is gonna be the next Essentials Cup, which is gonna be like this weekend or something like that.
it is. That takes us right into the Essentials announcers of the month. Thank you, Dumpton. You've been very good at creating a little segue for me to zoom along. There is an Essentials monthly this month. It is going to be
Yeah, I think the only team signed up right now is Hipfire's team. So, like, if you're listening to this and don't want to give
If you wanna
Hipfire
farm
free $600,
Don't
then
let Hipfire
sign up
win.
now so Hipfire doesn't get free money. I think we can all agree that that's a good cause.
yeah. If you just want to sign up, farm Hipfire like 5 games in a row and in the the grand finals as well, you do that, dude. But yeah, that is going to be this weekend, and then obviously shortly after that, anyone who's potentially American or wants to play in America, you have the NA monthly next weekend as per usual.
Or
You
at
know?
least like shit on Americans for like just the one first day basically. Which there's always going to be people that just like play for both, but most likely just don't make it for the playoff stages or not beyond the first like game of playoffs. But might as well just try, see what's happening. Like if you have nothing else to do at that awful time of the day.
It's true. If it's like 4 p.m. on a Saturday and you're just feeling some TF2, like I'm sure most people do, you just wake up and you want to play TF2 just like forever. I do sometimes. Anyway, as I said, there's gonna be like another talk show where we talk absolute nonsense for X amount of time as well. That's going to be likely the 3rd weekend of this month. Like I said,
Yeah,
it
that
was
should
only now
like,
because we're
that
delayed.
should be a couple of days before signups close.
It should be, yes.
So at that point, we can like actually start making like any predictions for the next season, like properly.
Proper
Sure.
evaluations.
On the third weekend of this month, I'm pretty sure we're watching Dota. May not happen. We'll let you know.
no.
Stay
Oh,
tuned
yeah.
to the Twitter. Stay tuned to the Twitter. We will
Oh, the
shout at
Twitters.
you and give you info.
Oh yeah,
Essentials.
those
DF,
Twitters are gonna be fire.
Dude, I love
Time to
Twitters.
unfollow
Anyway,
both of you very quickly.
very, very quickly.
Oh.
But
Oh yeah, there's also
I
an
think
ETF2L award poll as well that we should
Yes, there
probably
is.
give a nod to. Hey,
yeah,
do your voting thing. Vote for your
Do
players of the season. Yay! All right.
Well, who was your player of the season? Let's just skip right to the important one and ignore everything else.
I haven't decided yet. I was going to review it a bit more. Like I'd like to really pour as much calculations into mine as possible because I'm a nerd. So I haven't done mine yet. I've picked my cast of the season though.
who
So
was it?
Does his name
Was it
start
you?
with, or does his name end with U-boat tabs?
no, actually, it ends with an
Beta.
an Okay, I guess a
Eskimo.
TM. A TM which would be better.
I'm
Beta.
really sad that Eskimo doesn't want to cast Motivate. Like he was so enthusiastic the one time we did cast.
Well, I asked him if he wanted to take it
Yeah, but your whole
seriously,
thing is too
and you
confusing
know
for
what?
him.
You know what? He messaged me back. I think he joined our like little Slack thing in the background for like all of 20 minutes, and then he sent me a message back saying like, "I don't want to do this," and then I was like, "Okay, fine. You don't have to do this." And then I took him off. You can just be a guest caster here and there.
Ooh, I just looked up
Fun
the
story.
schedule for season 30, and the preseason playoffs start exactly on the 20th.
Oh,
So
boy.
that is literally
That's not
18
long.
days. So that's just 2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks, and we'll have a much better idea. Anyway, we were rounding it out, guys. Come on, stay focused. So we're gonna round things out. I'm gonna, hand it to Tomato so he can do his shout outs. He can say some nice things. Say goodbye to all you wonderful people.
Shout out to everybody at TeamFortress.tv. Shout out to Eeply for
Thanks, Steve.
organizing this podcast and inviting me. It's always been nice. Shout out to our little Dota trip. We're going to Dota together, buddy. That's going to be great.
Yeah, anyone going to the Birmingham Major?
Nice.
Give us a shout.
Yeah.
Because we gonna be there.
All
and
right,
that's
that's me done.
Yeah, I'm gonna now hand it to Dunton, our brand new boy on the program.
I am legally obligated to give a shout out to Street because he wanted to buy my cast of the season vote. So here you go, Street. That's how that works.
Wait,
and...
what's his name? I'll shout him out.
Too late now. Apparently he asked Hipfire, but Hipfire was mean, so there you go. Don't let Hipfire get free money from
I can't be
Essentials.
last again, boys. Not again.
Somebody in chat wants to know if I'm Asian. No, I'm not. I am German / half Peruvian, even though I can't speak Spanish for my life, although I learned it for like 5 years in school. And that's basically it for me.
Right. Thanks. That went a different direction to I expected. I'm going to thank you guys. I'm going to thank Jem, who always is sitting there in the background, occasionally laughing at us and calling us rude words. I'm also just going to give my big shout out to the guys involved and watched and donated for Hugs, which happened really, really recently. It was pretty nuts. In total, we raised just fractionally under £20,000 for Special Effect, and it was just really nice to see some really cool people like in chat playing in the servers, like donating money. It was awesome.
Ooh, on that topic, like somebody gifted a bunch of shit to people on the Hugs pub, and I got like 20 weapons from that. But apart from that, I randomly also happened to get a Permzilla signed conch somehow.
Oh my god.
You know,
That's
the
money.
one weapon you totally associate with Permzilla, the conch.
It's got to be the conch. That's
Like
free money right there.
I'm rich now. Like I'm just gonna auction that off and just gonna like sponsor ETF weapons from now on.
Shout out to you guys. Shout out to the guy who
On
randomly,
his birthday.
presumably Perm, who gave you a signed conch. I don't know. Anyway, that's it from
Somehow
us.
ended up
We'll
in my
be back.
possession. I don't know how.
We'll be back sometime in about 3 weeks. Timber Taps is going to say bye. Yeah, see you next time.